Sevgili hocalarım, öncelikle hoş geldiniz, günaydın. Ben de bir öğretmenim ve cumartesi gününüzü buna ayırdığınız için çok büyük fedakarlık yaptığınızın farkındayım. Çok teşekkür ederiz bugün bizimle olduğunuz için. Good morning everyone. My name is Saime Duman. As Yasemin Hocam mentioned, normally my dear friend and colleague Talip Gülle was going to be in here today, but because of his health problems, I'll be the one who will present today. And as a working group 1 member, I will talk about the theoretical part of bi and multilingual disciplinary literacies, in short, BMDL. From now on, I will call it BMDL. First of all, as a working group 1, we address the fragmentation in BMDL research and developing a comprehensive conceptualization. But before starting my presentation, I have a quick question for you. Could you please scan the QR code? Sorry. So my question is for you, who is a literate person? What comes to your mind when you see a literate person? Just a few words, just one word or a phrase. A literate person is a person who, and please continue. And let's see the answers. Okay. The answers are coming. So what is literacy? Who is a literate person? So we can see a literate person who can write and read and understand. A literate person is sophisticated, can use 21st century skills, ability to read and write, recognizing orthography, like technology, digital literacy, speak accurately, a person who can write. Okay, so overall, actually, you see that we limit our understanding of literacy to only reading and speaking. But you're right, okay? Literacy is actually related to basic reading and writing, related to phonological awareness, phonics, oral reading fluency, or general vocab knowledge. But let's see the UNESCO's definition of literacy. It is the ability to identify, understand, interpret, create, communicate, and compute using printed and written materials associated with varying contexts. First of all, let's get deep into the varying context. Let's get started with reading and writing skills. I always ask my students, for example, in the class, what do you read in a daily life? You will see that the answers are limited to, we read a book, we read newspapers. They don't, obviously, but we read a short story, we read, I don't know, text messages, etc. But just ask this question to your students and you will see the answers are very limited. But in a daily life, you read an email. If you're at the airport, you read the flight timetable, you read a novel, and you read, for example, I read a lot journal articles on disciplinary literacies. But also, these contexts can be in written context. You can write an email. Again, ask this question to your students, what do you write? Their answers will be limited to school context. You will see that. But we write an email. If you work at the airport, you can be the one who write the flight timetable, you can write a novel, and you can write a journal article on disciplinary literacies, or you write text messages, etc. But then I want to get deep into the printed and written materials. We can see from your answers, most of us limit our understanding of literacy to printed and written materials. But is it so? So literacy actually requires oral language experts as well. For example, to be able to explain the causes of familiar Mediterranean fever to medicine students, if you are an instructor in a medicine department, for example. Let's say you are in education department and you are discussing the appropriate statistical method to be used in a study. And you're a map engineer, let's say, and you introduce the topographic map of a region. So overall, we can see that literacy requires oral language as well. But is it so? No. We also need other modalities in addition to printed and written materials, oral language, and other modalities. I don't know how to do it. So, just a second. Yeah, so you can see here, for example, a math equation. Can you read it? Always, I just know this and means, number of the participants, number, okay, from research studies. I can just tell this is a brain scan of a patient, and I can just say this is a map, okay? But probably when a math engineer or a math student can easily understand what's going on in this equation, or if you're a doctor, probably you can understand. If you're a brain surgeon, probably you will understand what is in there. So can you see, other than printed and written materials, we have also other modalities, not only verbal ones, but also non-verbal ones. So when we say disciplinary literacy, please do not limit yourself to only reading and writing. And I will give more details about it. So, we are CLILNetLE members, let's say, and we shift our focus. Okay, so we are, we move the idea of strict separation of content and language, and we instead believe the interdependence between content and language. So let's say you are studying biology. I can give examples from here. So let's say you are studying medicine, but while you are learning medicine field, medicine department, you are also learning its language as well. As I told you, even though I know what is that, I don't know medicine language, let's say. And we don't see reading and writing just technical skills. Instead, we see these skills are crucial for producing, interpreting, evaluating knowledge through written, oral, and multimodal text. And there was overemphasis on developing content knowledge along before, but right now we support disciplinary knowledge construction, communication, values, and attitudes. And also we support student agency. I mean, we encourage students to take ownership of their learning. We don't view students as the passive recipients of knowledge. And also, please, let's not limit ourselves to classroom or skill when it comes to the literacy, but we see literacy as a resource for critical societal participation. And also, I should note that developing disciplinary literacies does not happen by exposure alone. Students require explicit guidance and meta-awareness. So if I summarize of our initial conceptualization of BNDL, we see disciplinary literacy as a goal, but also as a dynamic process, and we believe that it involves a deep reciprocal relationship between disciplinary content and ways of constructing knowledge and communicating it. And disciplinary literacy starts from knowledge building. It is about learning the typical ways of thinking, meaning making, and communicating in these different disciplinary areas inside and outside of school context. Let's say, to give an example for this one, let's say you are learning biology in the school. We expect you to think like a biologist, okay? To be able to write like a biologist. So this is how we want our students to think like a biologist, to make meaning like a biologist, and to communicate like them. But depends on their age, of course. So overall, disciplinary literacy is thus not only about language, nor about the technical skills in reading, writing, but about how these and other modes of communicating are embedded in the fabric of the discipline. And during this period of conceptualization, we came up with 5 different dimensions of BMDL: bi, multi, and translingual dimension, multisemiotic dimension, functional, critical, and technological dimension. And what do they mean? I will try to explain them in through examples. For example, let's get started with bi, multi, and translingual dimensions. We are English teachers and we know that we don't invite Turkish into our classroom. But BMDL requires different languages in a classroom to be literate in that discipline. Let's give an example. You divide the students into different groups, okay? And one group reading Turkish on the same theme, let's say, and the other group is reading in English. And then, after they come together and they summarize key points and synthesize findings in English for a written report. As you can see, it is the bilingual dimension of BMDL. So what about multi and transsemiotic dimension? As I told you in the beginning of the lesson, beginning of the presentation, literacy is not limited to only printed and written materials. It also is not limited to verbal language. Think about the postures, gestures, graphs, tables, pictures, everything in the classroom. These are related to multi and transsemiotic dimension. And again, example from an English classroom. The teacher introduces key weather expressions using flashcards, like sunny, rainy, windy, stormy, and then students watch a short English weather forecast video, okay? And then you give them a weekly weather chart and expect them to prepare a forecast presentation using visuals and oral language. Do you see how you invite different multi and transsemiotic dimensions into the classroom? And we are so lucky that English classrooms are so welcoming these dimensions into our classroom. So what about functional dimension? For me, functional and critical dimensions are the most neglected ones, especially in English classroom. Functional dimension means genre and situation appropriacy. So it means that students are required to use language, let's say, English language, specific to genres and specific to situations. For example, you brought a study abroad booklet, let's say, okay, to the classroom, and the task is writing a formal email. And first of all, so the task is write a formal email to that institution, let's say. First of all, you highlight the structure, how you greet, how you start greeting in your email, why you are writing the question and closing, and you are teaching some useful phrases. And then, students are required to their own emails for imaginary situations. For example, this time, they are supposed to write email to an Erasmus program in a university they wanted to be in, okay? So this is functional dimension, to be able to use the language in this context, genre and situation specific. And the critical dimension, we expect the students to be able to take multiple perspectives and identify unequal power relations. If I, explain this with an example, let's say there is a dialogue, textbook dialogue, and in this dialogue, 2 characters are talking about their ideal holiday. One is favoring the hiking holiday, the other one is the seaside, resting holiday. And in this dialogue, the students read this dialogue and they reflect on whose cultural preferences are represented. And maybe you can expect your students to create an alternative dialogue that reflects their own preferences. So with this dimension, we expect our students to be able to see and identify different perspectives, okay? And to be able to identify unequal power relations. And the last one, technological dimensions. Yes, we are in a digital era, we have smartboards, internet, and we invite technology in our classroom. That is good. but it is not enough. Okay? We expect the students are required to sort through, navigate, critically evaluate text and digital formats. So in short, we expect them to be digital literates. Just an example. Just ask your students to create a Google Form survey. Okay? It is a digital tool, you know. And let's say I just give an example here. Students perceive strengths and needs in using English. And ask them to share this survey with their peers. And after that, create a poster presentation to share their findings. So in this dimension, yes, we can use technology, but they should be able to also they should be able to look at critically and evaluate the text in digital formats as well. So if I summarize, in BMDL, we expect 5 different dimensions to be in BMDL to be a disciplinary literate person, and these are bi, multi, and translingual dimension. I give an example of bilingual, but you know, in other contexts, especially in European context, and maybe in some of the contexts in Turkey as well, we can see the multi and translingual dimensions as well. Multi and transsemiotic dimension, functional, critical, and technologic dimension. So this is the end of my speech. Actually, I created a Padlet page. If I have enough time, I don't think so, Feza Hocam. Maybe I just put a QR code in here. If you want to reflect on experiences related to BMDL in your English classroom, or if you're a disciplinary teacher, if you're a discipline teacher like biology, etc., you can share your experiences as well related to 5 different dimensions. Okay, let's get started now then. So I see the answers. Yes, functional dimension, we have an answer from Excited Raccoon. So I generally teach real-life English on different contexts, such as ordering in a cafe. Very good, because it is like situation-specific. And giving a recipe in the target language. And for multisemiotic dimension, I mostly use flashcards, visuals, pictures related to subjects, and make students use and work on different materials while they're practicing the language. Critical dimension, I integrate this dimension mainly in my intercultural communication lessons. For example, make groups to exchange information and understand different perspectives of others in a context and expand their knowledge with collaboration and cooperation with fruitful atmosphere. And students examining patient and doctor dialogues in the books with a critical eye and write real-life dialogues according to their context. Very good. We have a content teacher, I guess, in here as well. And I ask inquiry-based technique, making students think about global issues like climate change. And let's read 1 or 2 examples from technological one. We use Web 2.0 applications such as Canva, Google Forms, Padlet, etc. for our e-twinning projects. Very good, very different ones together. And also, you know, I guess most of English teachers started to use ChatGPT on purpose in the classroom. For example, I don't look at my students' grammatical part of their writing anymore. I'm not looking at that. I just more into their ideas. But it is university level. Students read books online and ask them prepare presentation, and then they prepare folders from Google or other platforms. Very good, okay. And finally, at the class, we use some educational pages like Kahoot and to evaluate them and have fun with questions. I make my students summarize something using Padlet. As you can see, we also use technological dimension and the critical dimension, functional dimensions, multisemiotic dimension in this Padlet page as well. For example, one more example, and I will finish the talk. From bi, multi, and translingual dimension, I use students' Turkish knowledge to teach new English vocabulary and grammar by awareing them how to use English and thinking in English. Okay, so this is the end of my speech. If you have further questions, Or if you want to learn more about our project, you can visit CLILNetLE.eu webpage. And of course, you can, if you have any question, you can contact me or to our professors and instructors in here as well. Thank you so much for your attention and collaboration.